Hey guys, I'm Louis and welcome to my latest video. So in today's video we're going to be doing another tag, and this tag is going to be the superhero tag. And like I said in the previous episode, just a list of questions which I found on Tumblr and on YouTube, and I just mixed them up a bit, took a few out, added my own in, that sort of thing. I will leave the questions in the description down below so you can do this for yourself if you'd like to. You can do it in the comments or in a response video. But anyway guys, let's get on with it. Let's go to question one. So question one is, who's my favourite superhero? Now, technically he's an anti-hero, but he's still a hero. It's Deadpool. I just love this guy so freaking much. I mean, if you just look what I've got here, got Deadpool versus Carnage, got Night of the Living Deadpool, and Deadpool Dead Presidents. Like, I just love this guy so much. He's honestly my favourite superhero, I guess you could say. And I just think that he's really unorthodox. He's not just a simple superhero. Like, Superman's kind of a simple superhero. He just saves people. He does all that. Deadpool, he sometimes saves people, sometimes goes on murderous rampages, sometimes falls in love with the personification of death. He's just a crazy motherfucker. He does what he wants, and he's just honestly the funniest character ever. I mean, if you've actually seen the Deadpool game, some of the jokes in that are actually hilarious. Like, I just cry every time I've seen clips of that or watched the YouTuber play it, that sort of thing. He's just brilliant. Two is, what's my favourite superhero movie? And for me, it's got to be The Dark Knight. Just love Heath Ledger's performance of the Joker in that, and Christian Bale as Batman, of course, and Aaron Eckhart as Two-Face. And I just think that those three characters really fit well together, and it's just a brilliant movie. And if you haven't seen it, then I highly recommend it. Question three is, what's my favourite movie from the Marvel Cinematic Universe? So for me, I would have to say Avengers Age of Ultron, because I just love the team up bit at the end with all the Avengers together and the new Avengers and that sort of thing. So you had all the normal Avengers, you had Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch, and the motherfucking Vision. Like, when the Vision comes, you just know shit is going to go down. When they all fight together, it is the greatest thing I've ever seen. Like, I just love team up moments. I mean, I'm going to be doing a video in a couple of weeks regarding Power Rangers, because it was a massive part of my childhood, and there's a lot of good team ups in that, and I really love that. But Avengers Age of Ultron, it was a big team up movie in my opinion. I just thought it was really well written, really well made. None of the characters were focused on too heavily, so it felt like their own movie. It was all the Avengers movie, it was all their movie, it was Ultron's movie as well. Don't forget, Ultron, probably the best villain in a Marvel movie that I've seen for a very long time. He was just absolutely brilliant, a little bit creepy, but he's supposed to be, and they had the character nailed on. Question four, what is my favourite animated TV show? Animated superhero TV show. And I mean, I'm torn between two. The one that I'm sort of meh about is the X-Men animated series, because I really do love that. I mean, just this intro alone, if you can see in one of the corners, don't know where I'm going to put it on the video, it'll be in one of them, it'll be around, and you can just see that it's just really good, and it just shows off all the X-Men characters. But I've got to go with my favourite superhero TV show. It's got to be the Spider-Man animated series. Really love that so much. I mentioned it in a previous video, and it's just great. I mentioned it in my TV tag video, that's what I meant to say. But yeah, it's just really good. So great storylines, great acting, voice acting, and just great animation, and just general, the feeling of the show was just really sort of like they were building a universe, like just a Spider-Man universe within that, and it was one of my favourite shows growing up as a kid. Question five is, Marvel or DC? Now, I do like both, don't get me wrong, but overall I think I prefer Marvel, just because I like more of their different superheroes, whereas DC, I pretty much only like Batman. Flash, meh, is not bad. Superman, sometimes I like him, sometimes I don't. I don't like the Man of Steel kind of Superman. Yeah, I mean, maybe this Dawn of Justice movie will change my mind, but from the first Man of Steel, I absolutely hated that Superman. And the only DC, like I said, the only DC character I like is Batman. And whereas Marvel, I love X-Men, Spider-Man, Avengers, Deadpool, Daredevil, Punisher, all of these, even Howard the Duck, even Howard the motherfucking Duck. Now, Howard the Duck is just a boss. Like, he's right here, and he's an absolute boss. So, question number 6, what is my favourite comic book? And for me, it's got to be this one right here, Deadpool, Dead Presidents. Now, essentially, follows the story of Deadpool, like I said, and essentially this wizard guy brings all the past presidents of America that have obviously died, brings them all back to life, and Deadpool has to fight all of them because they're like kind of like ghost zombie kind of presidents, and it's just really funny. There's some great moments in it. If you do get a chance to read it, I really do highly recommend it. It's Deadpool, Dead Presidents, and I mean on the back he's punching Abraham Lincoln in the fucking face. So that just shows you what the Deadpool just doesn't give a fuck about. He doesn't even care about American heroes. I mean, he's Canadian himself, but even then, Deadpool, it just shows the sort of, I guess, tenacity of Deadpool. Question 7 is, what's my favourite ongoing comic book? And I would have to say Wolverine and Deadpool. I mean, I've got a bunch of them here. If you just have a quick look, you know, there's quite a lot of them. Just Wolverine and Deadpool, they team up, tend to team up quite often. And also it has individual Deadpool stories, which are obviously even greater because I prefer Deadpool to Wolverine, but Wolverine is an absolute boss, and they have a lot of sort of similarities, a lot of differences, but obviously they're both in the Weapon X program. Deadpool's more humorous and witty, and Wolverine's more serious and gritty, but together they just make a force to be reckoned with. Question number 8 is, what was my first sort of comic book or graphic novel? And for me, it was Batman Nightfall. Now, I don't actually have this with me at the moment because I have actually lent it to a friend and I'll be getting it back soon. But I'll leave a picture here of it. You know, you can just see that it's what it looks like. And basically, it follows the story of Batman, and the criminal Bane lets all of the inmates of Arkham Asylum out of Arkham Asylum to wreak havoc in Gotham. And Batman essentially has to take them all down as quickly as he can, and it just eventually exhausts him, and then Bane fights him, and it's the iconic image where Bane breaks Batman's back and throws him off a building, and it's just the iconic sort of thing with Bane, and it's just a really good story because it really shows how diverse the villains are in Batman and how many different ones there are, and when they team up together what happens, and when they even fight amongst themselves, and it just really shows the whole Batman universe in a brilliant way. And it was my first comic book, and I really do love it, and if you haven't read it, I do highly recommend it. So next question is Avengers or X-Men, and personally I would go X-Men because I just think they're a much better team. There's a lot more of them, obviously. I do love the Avengers, don't get me wrong, but the X-Men seem more like normal people as opposed to gods or super soldiers or, you know, secret agents, that sort of thing. I prefer X-Men because they're just normal human beings essentially, but they were born as mutants, so they have different abilities and stuff like that. Question 10 is, what's my favourite portrayal of Batman? It's got to be the vocal portrayal by Kevin Conroy. I love his voice. It's just the greatest Batman that's ever been. You don't actually get to see him when he's sort of playing these characters in games and cartoons and that sort of thing, but his voice is just brilliant, and it really just, when I hear his voice I instantly think Batman. He is my Batman. I would probably say that, just because probably I grew up with the animated series and all these other, you know, Batman of the future and that sort of thing.
You are not my father. I am not a disgrace. I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman.
Question 11 is, what is your favourite superhero team? And for me, it's not really a difficult question. Guardians of the motherfucking Galaxy. Now these guys are just brilliant. Obviously you've got Gamora, the warrior princess. You've got Star-Lord, the kind of cowboy-ish thief, kind of Nathan Drake sort of kind of guy from Earth. You've got Drax the Destroyer, the tough mercenary. And then you've got the two greatest characters out of them all, Rocket Raccoon and Groot. Groot is just absolutely brilliant. Rocket's great too. They have great chemistry together, especially in the movie. And I really can't wait for Guardians of the Galaxy 2 because I want to see more from this team and what they have to offer. Question 11 is, what's my favourite score or soundtrack from a superhero movie? And like I said with the last answer, again, it's going to be from Guardians of the Galaxy. It is Awesome Mix #1, which I believe I do actually have. Just bear with me a second. I do actually have a copy of on CD, and you can see all the tracks there. And, you know, it's just... That's upside down. Awesome Mix Volume 1. It's the same... the tape that Star-Lord has in the movie, and I just love every single song on that soundtrack. I mean, it's got the Pina Colada song on. What more can you ask for?
If you like pina coladas and getting caught in the rain.
Question 13 is, who's my favourite villain? And there's so many villains I could choose, especially the Spider-Man villains. There's so many of them, and Batman villains as well. But in the end, I did pick a Batman villain, and it is Scarecrow. I just love the way he masters sort of fear, and I love his persona and how he came to be that. I mean, and he's just a really messed up character. But let's be honest, all the Batman villains they're all kind of mental. I mean, the Catwoman's probably the only one who's not as crazy as the others. Still a little bit crazy. But, you know, Scarecrow, I just love his outfit, and I love that, especially in the animated series, I thought that he was exceptionally good in that, and he was also good in Arkham Asylum, which obviously, this is a new game that's come out, Arkham Knight, and he's back in that one, but he was originally in Arkham Asylum, and those sequences regarding him were great, you know, like the fear sequences where Batman will be poisoned by... the Scarecrow's fear toxin, and he would have to go through sort of these mad nightmare missions, and they were just some of the most memorable parts from the game. So number 14 is, what superhero would I be in real life? Like, if I was a superhero, like if I could create my own superhero sort of thing, similar to a create your own pizza, but with a superhero, I think I would create the superhero known as Fiction Man. Like, this is not a thing that's ever been made before. I came up with this myself. It would essentially be a man who can take on the abilities and sort of personalities of fictional characters, you know, book characters or film characters. So say, for example, then you need to solve a mystery or something like that. He could just gain the sort of persona of Sherlock Holmes. He could go around being Sherlock Holmes for a bit and, you know, solve the mystery, because obviously he was one of the greatest detectives in fictional sort of history. Or say you needed to fly, you could take on the abilities of Hawk Girl or Hawkman, something like that, and you could just fly with them, but you'd still look the same, but you'd just be able to take on those abilities. So question 5, we have, who is my favourite Guardian? And it's got to be Groot. I mean, he's just brilliant. I mean, look at his vocabulary, it's just so diverse, obviously. No, I'm just kidding. He only says I am Groot, but he's just absolutely hilarious. He's adorable, and he's just friendly, and he's just that sort of, I don't know, he's just brilliant. He's a tree. There's not, what more can I say? Next question is, who's my favourite X-Man or X-Woman? And it's got to be Nightcrawler. Outside of Deadpool, obviously, because Deadpool is an X-Men character, but I've already used him for an answer, so I thought I'd mix it up a bit. It's got to be Nightcrawler. He's blue, he's the son of Mystique, and he can teleport. He's boss with a sword, and he's German, you know. He's just absolutely brilliant. I loved him in X-Men 2, the movie obviously, and he was brilliant in that. It's a shame he's not been in any other X-Men movies, but I'm hoping they're going to bring him back for X-Men Apocalypse. Question 17, what is my favourite superhero video game? It's got to be Batman Arkham Asylum. Like I said, I mentioned the Scarecrow missions, but I just love the way this game is so diverse and so sort of, 1 minute you could be fighting a big titan sort of guy, straight up combat, dodging him, throwing batarangs, that sort of thing in a big room. Next thing you do, you could be stealth takedowning goons while the commissioner is being held hostage. It's just such a good game, and it just sums up everything that Batman is, and it was the first sort of superhero game where I fully felt like the superhero that I was playing with. Obviously, that is Batman. Fully felt like Batman when I was playing that game. Loved Arkham Asylum, loved Arkham City. I even loved Arkham Origins, even though it was made by a different company, but it was still really good. And I'm probably going to love Arkham Knight whenever I get a PS4 and get around to buying it and playing it, because it looks absolutely incredible. Question 18, the final question is, if I could be any superhero, well, if I could have any superhero's powers, who would I be? And I would have to say Professor Charles Xavier, prior to his accident where he ended up in a wheelchair. But let's say in X-Men First Class, when he was still all up and walking, he can read minds, he can control minds, he can do all sorts of people's minds, and I just think that is such a brilliant power. And it's not like a weird sort of thing where you hear everyone's thoughts all the time. No, he can tune into certain people, and with the help of Cerebro, he can also locate humans or mutants throughout the entire world. And a lot of telekinesis things, I mean, in Chronicle, for example, the people could use telekinesis to fly, and I think Professor Xavier could also do that if he so wished, and if he trained himself and practiced in that way. He doesn't really do that before he gets in a wheelchair, and then he obviously is stuck there. But I would practice that all the time and try and get to be able to fly, because flying's boss. Anyway guys, that does bring the video to a close. I hope you did enjoy. Leave a like if you did. Also, I just want to quickly say the person I'm going to be tagging again is Mr. Dark Phoenix. Sorry that I only tagged you a couple of weeks ago, but I just thought, since this is a superhero tag, I think it'd be something that you'd be really interested in, because obviously your main stuff is comic books, and I just think you'd have some really interesting answers for these, and I just thought you might want to do the video. So just do that whenever you can, and that'd be great. And you know, keep up the good work. Do love your channel. Thanks for the compliments about my accent. I can't really tell if I've got one, but there you go. Anyway guys, leave a comment on what your favourite superheroes are, and maybe you can answer the questions yourselves in the comments. Subscribe if you enjoy my content in general, and I'll see you next time guys.